Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while. Sorry about that. I know I left y'all hanging. I am so sorry. I really apologize about that. It was not my intention. We are going to get into all of that. We are going to chat about all of the things. But first things first, some general housekeeping. If you're new here, my name is Kaela. I'm a second generation homeschool mama to 4 girls. I am currently homeschooling my 5th grader and my 2nd grader. I also have a toddler and a baby, almost a second toddler, that are along for the ride. We are on the back end of our 7th year of homeschooling. My girls have homeschooled from the very beginning. And on this channel, I love to chat all things homeschool, all things mama life. I love to share resources with you guys and just update y'all on where we are at in our homeschool journey. It has been a minute, several minutes, all the minutes since I last uploaded a video. I actually was shocked and couldn't believe how much time had passed, and I feel terrible. I know I left you guys hanging. It was never my intention to do that. Life just really has been nonstop and crazy the last few months, and it would be impossible for me to share every single detail of every single hiccup that happened that prevented me from being here. But I'll just share sort of a general overview so that y'all know what's been going on. So I think my last video was in September. We are now in March. We ended up getting really sick, like our entire family got really sick right after that last video went up in September. And it went through the whole family. There are 6 of us. It was just really kind of a standard respiratory virus that went through everybody. But of course, when you have a large family and you have a lot of kids, even a very minor virus can take like forever to get over because everybody is trying to get over it and everyone just keeps passing it to the next person. And that very first illness in September was really just a glimpse of what was going to come at us over the duration of autumn and winter. I feel like we caught every single bug that was going around. Thank goodness there are some more serious ones that we didn't catch. But I feel like all of the minor things that went around, we caught. And of course, having an infant, sometimes things can be a lot harder for a baby. And I did end up having to take our baby girl to the emergency room for a terrible, terrible stomach virus. That was really rough. And then some of you may remember, I actually have a chronic respiratory disease. So anytime that I get like even a very minor infection or virus, it can be a lot harder for me to get over it and recover from it. I had a really intense, really horrible ear infection. I actually lost hearing in my left ear for about 8 weeks, which is the longest and worst ear issue that I've ever had in my life. It was really crazy. Meanwhile, my toddler, my 2-year-old, never fully recovered from all of those respiratory illnesses either. And she ended up starting to show symptoms of obstructive sleep apnea, which is something that happens only in children. We are still in the middle of trying to figure that out for her. So her and I have just had like specialist appointment after specialist appointment. And some of you remember last year, it's almost been a full year ago, my husband was in the hospital and was very, very ill. Like we almost lost him. Thank goodness he is fully recovered now and doing very well. I just feel like the majority of last year, and now it's creeping into this year, has just been one medical issue after another. And I'm very grateful that for the most part, they are minor issues, they are treatable issues, but it's still been very hectic and very stressful. And I'm sure so many of you can understand that when you have 4 kids and you have a chronic illness and you've just been dealing with health problem after health problem, it is so easy to fall behind in other areas. And my main priority is always going to be my kids and my family, and specifically their education. So I really have been putting all of my energy and all of my mental focus into making sure that we stayed on track with homeschooling, because we did have unforeseen breaks and time off that we had to take because people were sick or because we were recovering from being sick or whatever the case was. So during the days and weeks where we were healthy and we were able, I really focused on making sure that our homeschool was the priority and getting lessons done. And honestly, I feel like I fell behind on everything else. And unfortunately, one of the areas where I really fell behind and really just had to let it go was this channel for a while. I so appreciate all of you guys who have been patient, who've stuck around despite, radio silence from me. So many of you even like sent me DMs to check on us, see how we were, see what was going on. I just can't thank you guys enough. It's just been one of those seasons of life that is messy and difficult and challenging, but I do feel like we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. I also think that this past winter, I was really struggling with seasonal depression. I actually didn't even quite realize that that's what it was until the sun came out and we had blue skies and sunshine. And I just felt like a completely different person. I felt like I was waking up and my energy was returning. And I was like, wow, I have really been like a walking zombie the past few weeks and months. I'm so curious if any of y'all can relate. Did you and your family feel like you were getting sick more often this past autumn and winter? Have you ever dealt with seasonal depression, or do you find yourself just becoming a lot more lethargic and kind of pulling inward in the colder, darker months? I'd love to chat with you in the comments below if you feel comfortable sharing. Now, it wasn't all doom and gloom over here. Around Thanksgiving week, my brother-in-law got engaged. He proposed to his girlfriend. We were all super, super happy, and they decided they wanted to get married fairly quickly. So they got engaged Thanksgiving week and they got married on March 1st. So that was wonderful, very exciting for our entire extended family. It's been really lovely to just celebrate with them. We had a lot of smaller celebrations between the engagement and the wedding. I think in January and February, we literally had something going on every single weekend for like 8 weeks straight leading up to the wedding, which was very exciting. All happy, happy stuff. But that was also around the time where I was actually starting to feel like I could come back and work on this channel again. And then the time just wasn't there to be able to do that. So here we are. It is the middle of March. The school year is winding down. It's coming to an end. Despite, all of the sickness and illness and the distractions and the things that have come up unexpectedly, it's just been a really good homeschool year for us. I feel like everything has gone smoothly in our homeschool, curricula wise, schedule wise, like all of that has been pretty smooth this year. So I'll run through a little update for each of my girls and then talk about what we were doing as a group for the last few months. So for my 5th grader, so many of y'all have DM'd me and asked me about how we are liking Hearth and Story language arts. My 5th grader has been using the entire 5th grade language arts level from Hearth and Story. So the spelling, the grammar, the poetry, the brain food, which is kind of like a critical thinking, extra language arts stuff, the writing, and then there also is a literature component with short stories and novel studies. That is the only component that she hasn't touched yet. We are still planning on doing that, and I will get into why she hasn't done that yet. But all of the other components, the spelling, the grammar, and so on, she has been using all year, and it's been a total 100% success. She really likes how short the lessons are. Nothing ever feels very overwhelming where she's having pages and pages and pages of things to finish in a day. I really love how thorough and rigorous the curriculum is. I feel like it really dives in deep, and it is the right level of challenging for 5th grade. But at the same time, I really appreciate that it keeps things simple and also kind of playful. And I love that Hearth and Story still feels like it's for a kid. And even though the lessons are short, they're very engaging. I know that Hearth and Story just released their 4th grade level. My second daughter will be starting 3rd grade next year. I really hope that they continue to release, and maybe by some miracle, by the time we're ready to start 3rd grade, like in August, who knows, maybe she'll have a 3rd grade level. That would be amazing, because I would totally use this language arts curriculum for both girls. Now, Hearth and Story is not the only thing that my daughter is using for language arts, but it is sort of her main core for language arts. In addition, she is still working through Beowulf's grammar. She's also still using Write by Number, and that is another curriculum that I am still such a huge fan of. I absolutely love it. I have both of my girls using it, and I foresee that we will continue with it. The combination of Write by Number and then the essay writing instruction in Hearth and Story has just been so good. Like, they're very different approaches. Write by Number is very formulaic. They give you this exact formula, this exact algorithm for your writing. Hearth and Story, they are walking your kiddo through the writing process from brainstorming to publishing, all the little steps in between. But it is much more open-ended and not as formulaic as Write by Number. So they teach the steps, but then it's really up to your kiddo to fill in the blanks and to figure out how to best execute each of those steps. Whereas Write by Number tells your student exactly what to do. It's more rigid and strict in that way. However, both Hearth and Story and Write by Number allow my daughters to choose the content that they are writing about, to choose the subject that they are writing about. And that works beautifully for my kiddos. They usually are both bubbling over with ideas or things we're covering in other areas of our homeschool that they're excited to research more, they're excited to write about. I know that that's not going to work for every kiddo, because if you have a kiddo who really has writer's block and they get stuck just thinking of an idea, they can't even think of what they might want to write about, and that might be very stressful for them, might give them a lot of anxiety, then I don't know if either of these curriculums, at least the writing portion of Hearth and Story, would work out for a kiddo like that. But for my daughter, it's been perfect. Another thing that we did for language arts for my 5th grader is we decided to use and revisit a resource that I had purchased a couple years back that had just been sitting on the shelf. And that is from Michael Clay Thompson. It's his first level of his curriculum, so the island level, I believe. And we wanted to just dive in to the poetry component of that curriculum. I believe it's called Music of the Hemispheres. I think that's what it's called. And we finished that entire book, or that entire component of the curriculum. We really enjoyed it. We both learned a lot. Poetry is not my field of expertise. I enjoy poetry. I appreciate poetry, but I am definitely not a poet. It's not something that comes easy to me to write poetry or to teach poetry. So it was nice to use that resource that we already had on hand. We definitely both learned a lot, and it played well with what she was learning in Hearth and Story poetry. She was able to kind of make some connections. I'm still not a huge fan of Michael Clay Thompson. I don't think my daughter is either. It's just not our jam, the way that that curriculum works. However, the books are very well written, and I have to give credit where credit's due. I think it's a really great program. I think it's very unique what he's come up with. And I know from talking to other homeschool families that it works very beautifully for a lot of kids. It's just not our favorite thing, but I'm glad we used it. I'm glad we read the whole thing. We got our money's worth. We learned from it. It was great. 5th grade math, easy peasy. It's been going great. She is almost done with 5B with Singapore Dimensions math. We're actually ahead of schedule with math because there were quite a few days where we were too sick or too out of it to get to anything else, but we always got to math consistently. So that's been great. The other big subject area I wanted to cover with my 5th grader this year was sexual education, reproductive health, physical biology, puberty, all of that stuff. And we had a couple of different resources that we have already used. We have another one that we are about to start that I'm really excited about. Stay tuned for an upcoming video about all things sex education. I will be talking about that in another video. Okay, my 2nd grader. For language arts, her lineup has consisted of Beowulf's Grammar, All About Reading Level 3, All About Spelling Level 1, and she has a cursive handwriting book from Zayner Blozer. In addition to that, she also is using Write by Number. And then I forgot to mention for my 5th grader, but both of my girls are still using Type C, which would fall under the language arts umbrella. It's typing, it's reading comprehension. There's a lot of little things that are addressed with Type C, and they both love it. So with All About Reading, not a whole lot to update there. It is still my favorite foundational reading curriculum. My 2nd grader's enjoying it and getting through it with relative ease. All About Spelling Level 1. I did revisit this curriculum after trying it a couple years back. All About Learning did come out with the new All About Spelling activities that are in full color and much more similar to the All About Reading activities. And so I decided to give it a shot. So my 2nd grader started with Level 1 this past year. And honestly, I'm becoming a fan. Do I think it's like the end all be all spelling program? No, but I think for this kiddo, it's working really well. My oldest didn't need a program like All About Spelling because spelling came a lot more naturally to her. So the spelling that she's doing in Hearth and Story is really just like a list of words to learn to spell and practice for each week. It's very basic, but the words are very challenging, and that is a really good fit for her. For my 2nd daughter, 2nd grader, she's actually really benefiting from the more thorough and detailed approach that All About Spelling offers. And yes, some of it is a little bit redundant because she's already covered some of this with All About Reading. However, I think the extra review is actually really good for her. So yeah, overall, I'm glad we're trying it out. I'm still on the fence as to what we will do with her for spelling for 3rd grade next year. I don't know if I'll get All About Spelling Level 2 in the full color new version, or if we'll try something else. But for right now, I am really liking this. And she seems to be retaining a lot from it. So all around, that is good. Math, 2nd grade. She is almost finished with 2B of Singapore Dimensions Math. I still totally love Dimensions Math. The new thing that we did this year was I signed them both up with the video lesson subscription. When I decided to purchase the video subscription, I predicted and I hoped that it would free up more instruction time from my plate. And I was absolutely right. That is absolutely what it has done. It's been awesome. I can literally just send my girls, usually they take turns alternating between an iPad and our desktop computer. I can say, go do your math lesson. They have their headphones, they watch the video, they do the lesson. They come to me if they need help, if they get stuck, if they have a question. They also show me their work afterwards, so I'm still checking and grading their work. It has been such a game changer and a huge help to me. With my 2nd grader, we did do one novel study this year, just her and I. Some of you may recall that when I was planning out her 2nd grade year, I was kind of trying to figure out what she was going to do for literature. She had requested more picture books. It was seeming like it wasn't really going to work out us doing a lot of group novel studies. My 5th grader was going to be doing her novel studies with Hearth and Story, which were going to be books too advanced for my 2nd grader. So I was kind of trying to piecemeal some different literature units together. We ended up getting our epic family unit study, which I'll talk about in a minute, which is tied in with a novel. So that kind of came to the forefront, and that is the reason why my 5th grader hasn't done any of the novel studies, short story studies, literature component of Hearth and Story. My 2nd grader, we did get to one novel study this year, her and I, and it was with Lit House Learning for The Wild Robot. This was our 2nd time reading it, but this time she was the one doing the majority of the reading. Her and I just kind of had that special time one-on-one where we would read a little bit of the book and then we would do the activities from Lit House Learning. I still highly recommend Lit House Learning if you are looking for novel studies, literature units that tie in a lot of writing. The activities in her units are all pulled from the Writing Revolution technique of writing instruction. And yeah, I just think they're really well done. We really enjoyed that. And I'm sure that we will do another Lit House Learning novel study at some point in the future. Okay, so now it's time to talk about the main thing that we've been up to, and that is this epic novel study, unit study. I mean, there's really no name that covers what this is, but this is the Light Comes to Shadow Mountain unit from Ticket to Learning. I did share a very thorough look at this in another video, so I will link that below in case you missed it. I think that there are 21 or 22 lessons in this, and we finished it in, I want to say, like 16 or 18 weeks. We definitely could have finished it faster. My original plan was to do this in 12 weeks, but again, we had so many illnesses back to back during the autumn and during the winter that slowed us down a great deal. So I think it was about, I want to say between 16 and 18 weeks is how long it took us to get through this. So half the school year really we spent on this unit, and it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. One of our favorite things that we've ever covered family style. There is so much meat in this unit. First of all, the novel itself, Light Comes to Shadow Mountain, 5 stars. Fantastic book. We listened to this entire book rather than reading it out loud, and the Audible version of this book is amazing. The amount of things that you can pull, and she did. She pulled them all. She pulled everything out of this book to cover so much content. You're getting history, you're getting science, you're getting arts and crafts and nature study and cooking and social emotional learning, tons of meaty language arts activities, vocabulary, writing. There's even a little bit of math in here. We didn't do the math, but there's a little bit of math in here. There's a wonderful curated selection of videos and additional picture books that you can pull in, middle grade books that you can pull in, and even some adult reading that you can pull in to learn more. From the hands-on learning kit, my girls loved those parts the most. They did the embroidery on the handkerchiefs. They planted their own calendula plants. We made our own butter. They were able to make some light circuits, which was really fun. They got to write their own news articles, which was really cool. I don't think that either of them had done a news article before. They were able to research the subject that they wanted to write about. They learned about being able to tell if their sources were credible, if their sources were biased. There are several recipes in here that my daughter is still begging to make, and so maybe we will still get to that in the future, but we just haven't really done any of the recipes yet. And then I think the only language arts component that we did not use from this was the spelling portion. Both of my girls were doing their own things for spelling, so I didn't feel the need to use that from this. So anything in here that we decided not to cover or not to implement was just because we either didn't have the extra time or because we already had that area, that subject covered really well with another resource in our homeschool. It was wonderful from beginning to end. And I just can't wait to see more units like this from Ticket to Learning. And now that we've wrapped this incredibly epic unit study, we're ready to jump into some other things for our group subjects. Some of the curricula that I actually had selected for this school year, book shark science, finishing up medieval times with history quest. There was actually a lot from last year that we didn't get to. We were supposed to do like a Shakespeare unit. We have a lot of things that we can choose from, what direction we want to go to finish off this school year, which is exciting and fun, but also a little overwhelming. I'm definitely having to remind myself, like, whatever we jump into next, we are not going to finish it before the school year is over. And that is okay, because in those content areas, literature, science, history, social studies, we can progress in those areas at our own pace. It's easier said than believed, because I just like finishing things by the end of the year. That is just like the perfectionist in me. It does stress me out a little bit when I'm like, oh, we didn't finish this. It's silly. It's very silly. Don't be like me. But I'm being honest. So it is going to be mentally challenging for me to like jump into a new science curriculum that is scheduled for 36 weeks, and we're probably only going to get to a third of it or half of it realistically. But really, it is okay. It is okay, because whatever we don't finish, we can just carry on into next year. I just need to chill out. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's time to brainstorm. It's time to plan out this last little bit of our school year. And then, oh my goodness, it's already time to plan 6th grade and 3rd grade. This is crazy. Where did the year go? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this little chatty update. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments, so feel free to introduce yourself or let me know how things have been going for you with your family, with your homeschool. Are you wrapping up your school year? Did you just start a new school year? Are you really vibing with spring, or are you missing the coziness of winter? Let's chat. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a big thumbs up, sharing it with your friends, and if you're not already subscribed, make sure and click that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one real soon. Thanks for watching. Happy homeschooling. Bye for now.